Okay, so welcome everybody to today's presentation. Just a few housekeeping things while we get started. If you wanted to just put yourselves on mute, you could unmute yourself after to ask any questions that you have, or if you feel more comfortable and want to use the text chat, you could do that too, and I'll watch for it. And so without any further ado, I am going to introduce our guest speaker and welcome her back. So Cassandra's journey started in Thunder Bay, Ontario, where her passion for psychology and business merged into a mission, helping entrepreneurs scale and grow through confidence and connection. She founded Connect in 2020 to support business owners in streamlining their back end, building strong brands, and reaching new revenue heights. Cassandra is all about empowering entrepreneurs to show up boldly and build businesses they love. So welcome back, Cassandra. It's great to have you back.
Hello, thank you. Thank you so much. Very excited to be here today and chat about something a little bit different. I often come on and we do a lot of stuff around social media. And my bread and butter in my business started off with social media. I did my, like you said, my undergrad in psychology. Then I moved to Confederation College and did my diploma in business marketing and did a program through George Brown College that talked a lot about social media and digital marketing. And a part of digital marketing that sometimes we kind of forget about or we put on the back burner or we say, yeah, one day I'll get there and it never happens, is that essence of email marketing. And so this has been a conversation I've been having a lot with my clients lately within my own business. And I thought I'd bring it to you guys as a really interesting topic to talk about on, why it's important, how we get started, what we even do, segments, automations, all of that kind of stuff. It can feel overwhelming. And so today we're going to talk all about it. And if you guys have any questions, any thoughts, please definitely write them down, pop them in the chat as we go along, and we'll definitely have a Q&A period at the end where we can chat a little bit more about all your questions. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay. So a big question that sometimes we ask is, why email marketing matters. Why do we need to do an extra thing? Why do we need to have an extra platform, an extra process? And there's a few different reasons. So the very first reason that I always tell my clients, I tell myself this, is that social media, we often market in that space, right? Everyone has to be online, everybody has to be on social media. But what we forget about is that we don't own the social media platforms. We don't own any of our followers or our people there. And so if like what happened a few months back, where TikTok got banned for a period of time in the US, if a platform decides to shut down, if they decide to close their company, if they decide to, get rid of whatever it is, does your business disappear with that? And this was a question I had to ask myself because I do social media all the time. I had to think about, okay, while I'm doing social media, if my business, if Instagram were to shut down tomorrow, would I still have a business? And I kept thinking, well, not really. Could I build a business in other places? For sure, but it would take me a lot longer. Right now, I have 2,000 people on Instagram closely connected. I talk to quite a few people all the time on my Instagram. And if that were to disappear, where does my business go and what happens? And how much work do I have to put in to maintain and connect with all these people again? And so when we think about email marketing, that's like the forefront for me is what happens if the channel that you're using falls apart the next day. And so email marketing is obviously more than social media. And the reason why I say that is because it allows you to connect with people on a more personal level. Yes, we can send messages on Instagram. Yes, we can send messages on Facebook and all these other places. But what email marketing allows you to do is to segment your lists and really connect with people who are, and we're going to talk more about that later, but really connect with people who have those common interests, that have those common goals. And people who have signed up for your email list are often closer to your business than the social media people. The social media people generally come in and they're just checking out the waters. They're like, okay, this is a new house. I don't know. Let me look around. Let me see how I feel about it. And the email marketing people are like, you know what? I'm ready to put an offer in, right? They're right there. They're ready to take the leap on your next endeavor. And so social media is a little more broad. Now, not all of your followers are going to be this social media broadness, right? I have many followers that jump into every offer that I send out, but the majority of my followers are that broad scope. They're coming in, they're learning about me, they're checking out the waters. They're like, oh, I don't know yet, I'm not sure. Whereas my email list, the open rate, the click-through rate, those are really high, those conversion rates, because they're closer to you and they want to be that way. So like I said, they're warmer leads. It builds direct communication so they can reply right to that email and send you an email back. It's cost effective. So like I said, there is, social media is also, cost effective in a way. You don't have to pay for social media. But you also don't have to pay for email marketing. And sometimes we get confused or we get overwhelmed by all the platforms that exist and all the different pricing and features and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to lay out a few options for you guys, but it can be very cost effective. I have done email marketing now for 2 years in my business, and I don't pay a single dime for it other than my time. So something to consider. And then it is very measurable. So the open rates, the click-through rates, which I'm going to get to, you can tell what your audience enjoys. You can tell what your email list is moving through as you send out different emails. You can really understand what's going on there. Okay, so the basics of email marketing. You have a few different components here. And okay, yeah, let's talk about the components. So your email lists. Those are like your Rolodex, right? Your contacts. Those are the people that come to you and hand over their email, whether it's through a workshop, it's through a product that they've purchased, it is through an opt-in, whatever it is, they've handed you their email and you can then put them on your email list. Now, here in Canada, and I believe in the US, you do have to have permission to add people to your email list, and often email platforms will bump back an email to them saying, hey, do you want to join the Connect email list? And they can accept or decline from there. The way that we get emails is this lead magnet concept, right? So now this isn't the only way. You could be at a trade show and have a booth there and grab emails from that. You could be offering a service and have emails from that. A lot of the easy, quick, fundamental ways is those lead magnets. So somebody comes into your world. They want what you have for free, often, or at a very low price, but usually free. And they'll give you their email. So the exchange is the product for the email. This can be things like guides, checklists, workshops, breath work exercises, yoga classes, a book, like a free ebook, an audio listing, a exclusive invite to a live event, whatever you want it to be. It could be a million different things. There are so many different email marketing tools that you can use. There's so many different lead magnets that you can use. And I challenge you to get creative with it because people have caught on at this point, right? We've been doing this digital marketing thing for a while and people are like, do I want to put in my email for another lead magnet? But if you have something that's super valuable or super juicy, people will want it. I do this for a living. I know what people are doing when they ask me, do you want this guide for your email? I know what's happening and I still want the guide. I still want to hear what they have to say and the value that they're providing. Following them on social media has already given me that value, so I can only imagine what's going to be packed into this guide. And then we have the email service providers. So I like to keep it really simple. If you know anything about me and my business, my number one thing is simplicity. How can we make it really easy, flow really nicely? Because the more complex you make it without knowing those kind of basic pieces, it's not going to be good, right? It's like getting onto, Microsoft Word the first time and you're like, I don't know what any of this means. Like, where's the bold button? How do I make the text bigger? It just didn't make sense, right? Once you knew where everything was, you can pop open Microsoft Word and do whatever you need to do. Every once in a while, you run into like, oh, where do I insert a chart or how do I do something like that? But for the most part, you have the basics down. You know how to get around the place. It's the same with email, same with all of things in business. If you start with that simplistic process, it's so much easier to work yourself up and build that confidence rather than going in there and saying, oh, I don't know what any of this is. I feel so overwhelmed and I don't know how to do this. So that's our key components. Now we have the types of emails. So you've probably heard these buzzwords around and maybe you do know what they are. Maybe you've used them, maybe you don't know, but we're going to just kind of briefly go over them. Your welcome sequence. This is when somebody signs up for your email. What are they getting? Are they getting a, hey, it's so good that you're here. Let me introduce myself. This is who I am. This is what I do. Here's all my offers. Here's how you can work with me. Here's a little tidbit or a piece of tips or tricks or whatever that is. Welcome sequence. It can be multiple. It could be one email that goes out. It's totally up to you on how you want to structure that. And there are strategies behind it and all that kind of stuff that we can dive deeper into. But basic welcome sequence, blast them when they first open up, not an account, sorry, when they first send you their email, what gets sent to them. Newsletters, oftentimes people will send these out monthly, maybe bi-weekly. Some people do it weekly. Some people do it daily. I could never, but some people do it daily. And so newsletters are kind of those repetitive pieces that gives you people an update on your business, an update on the industry, an update on the market, whatever that looks like. Promotional emails, those are the ones like Bath and Body Works sends you or Hudson's Bay sends you that are just purely promotional purposes, right? They are showing you what they have, what discounts they have, and here you go. And then the nurturing sequence. So this can go side and side with that welcome email sequence, but nurture sequence is, okay, someone comes into your world. Now we want them to purchase something. They haven't purchased something yet, but they come into your world. How can we nurture them and send them through a process that they will then lead them into purchasing X, Y, and Z? Again, this could be 2 emails. This could be 20 emails. There's strategy behind all of those pieces, but it depends on what you're selling and what you're going through and what these people are coming into you with, right? Do they already know you? Have they been on your social media for a while? Are they active on your email list? Or are they the people that signed up for your email list, got the guide, and forgot about you? So these are all things to consider as well. Okay, so how do we use email marketing effectively? We need to understand our audience. We need to understand who, in the same way that social media is, we need to understand who the heck is in front of us, right? Where are they coming from? What are they interested in? Why did they sign up? If you did offer a freebie, let's say you have 2 freebies out. One is about email marketing and one is about social media. If they sign up for the social media one, I'm probably going to sell them a social media management package. I'm not going to sell them the email marketing thing. Or if you have, bath products and baby products, maybe someone signed up for the baby product coupon. You're probably going to send them more content related to babies because now you know something about this person. We want to make sure that we're storytelling in emails. Storytelling is huge, especially in 2025. This is something that is taking off in this year. We're kind of going back to that core storytelling piece. And this is something to consider here as well. So storytelling in emails can definitely make people catch on really quickly and feel like they're talking directly to you. They're connected directly to you. When I say storytelling, I mean bring them to the moment. Not one time I had this client and we did this and it's like 2 sentences. No, no, no. One time 2 years ago, I had this client who came to me and was struggling with feeling confident online. She shared that she couldn't, and you go in and in and in and take them to that moment, the transformation, and send it back to them. Because doing that storytelling process allows them to feel like they're really connected and sitting right next to you. It's like you're telling them the story live. Email writing tips. Okay, so strong subject line is going to be huge, right? We have seen a million emails a day. We open up some of them we don't. Some of them are directed to us from a client. Maybe you are talking to somebody specific. And so, when Lori messages me or when she emails me, I'm like, okay, I got this. This is something that's right in front of me. Sometimes I get emails, 20 times a day. And I'm like, this is so annoying. But every once in a while, I want to open it to see what the promotion is. Sometimes you get emails that you just blatantly delete. You don't even open them. You don't look at them. Maybe you read 2 words of the subject line and you're out. So think about that as you are creating these email subjects. And you can test this through A/B testing. So if you change the subject line on this one to this one, do more people open this one versus that one, right? So again, having that personalization and segmentation is going to be important here too. In the subject line, you can add somebody on certain email systems, you can add somebody's name right there. So you can say, Cassandra, are you feeling sick and tired of social media? Right away, it catches their attention because they're like, my name's in that subject line. Wait a second, let me look at that, right? segmentation is also going to be huge. So if you have a local event, sending it out to your entire email list is probably not going to make sense because some of those people might not be local. So on my email list, I have a separate segmentation for people who are local to me here in Alberta, and then people that are local to me in Thunder Bay. So that if I ever have an event in either place, I can send out an email to those people, which doesn't go to the people who are in France and Europe and Australia and all the other places, but does go to the people that are within that vicinity that would be interested in something like that. And then your strong call to actions. You want to make sure that in some regard, you're having a strong call to action. This can be something like reply to this email. That's huge. This could be something like follow me here, learn more here, here's the blog, whatever that is. So you get to decide what that makes sense in that post. But call to actions are good to have in all things. And then that frequency piece, right? If you're sending out 5 emails a day, people are going to unsubscribe pretty quickly. If you are a company that I had it was a morning, it was a cup, what was it called? Morning cup of coffee email. And it was all of the trends or all of the news that had happened in social media from that day before. So if Instagram updated this or Facebook did that or Elon Musk did this or Twitter, like all of these things came into one email funnel and it said, hey, here's your news blast. Here's what you need to be up to date every morning. Did I eventually unsubscribe from it? Yes, because it was just so much all the time. Now, frequency depends on your clients, right? If you are posting on social media 5 times a day and people are loving it, that might be a key indicator there. But if you post a few times a week or you post, a couple times a month, think about how consistent you can be and how consistent your email list people can be. Are you driving them crazy or are you actually providing them value? Okay. Okay. So getting started, you know how to communicate, right? We can all be better communicators probably, but we all know how to communicate. We all know how to plan. We all know how to engage people, and we all know how to make these complex problems more simple, right? We all have these kind of core skills that we bring into the business, we bring into ourselves that can be implemented within this. You got to choose a platform. Maybe you already have a platform and you never opened it. Maybe you have a platform and you use it every once in a while. Maybe you use it quite religiously. I don't know. But you got to choose a platform. We're going to talk about those later. You got to create some sort of lead magnet or you have to get people into your email list. This takes time. This is not something that will be overnight and you will have 5,000 people in your email list. It will not happen. It does take time. But there are lots of things and lots of different unique ways within your own business that you can play with to be able to do that. A client of mine actually held an award. She had a grant that she ended up doing, and she gained her goal was to build her email list to over 1,000, and she had gained that 1,000 followers, or sorry, those 1,000 subscribers from this grant. I think she had about 700 new subscribers from the grant. And so that's important, right? Looking at things like that. What's a really successful email list builder? You can chat GPT these things, throw in your specific industry, talk about what you do, who you are, how you help them, and then ask it, what are some unique, deep, valuable lead magnets that I can build here? Building out that welcome sequence. So you have to have something. So if somebody signs up to your email, you should probably have something that greets them at the door and says, when somebody knocks on your door, you don't just open the door and walk away. You open the door and you're like, hey, welcome in. It's so good to see you. Thanks for being here, right? Doesn't have to be super complicated, but it does need to be there. And then start sending emails and analyzing the results, right? What was really successful? What wasn't so successful? All of that kind of stuff. Okay, let's talk a little bit about platforms. I am a huge believer in simple and functional, right? So if you're spending $1 million on a platform and you aren't using it to its fullest potential, or you aren't using it at all, sometimes I've done that. Kajabi was one of those where I never used it. But there's different things that you can play with here, right? So you want to take a look at subscriber amount. So how many people can you have on your email list? You also want to look at things like how many emails can you send out to people? So in this list, we have different levels here. MailChimp, Brevo, MailerLite, even ConvertKit, which is now called Kit. But those are more on the easier side. There are a lot of plug and play, drag and drop style editors. There isn't a lot of coding complexity to it. But with that, you lose a little bit of that customization. I threw ActiveCampaign in here because it is a higher level. If you're like, I know all the things about email marketing and I'm ready to like take it to the next step, ActiveCampaign is a very robust system. You can really, really customize segments and processes and automations, but it is complex. And so as a new person coming into this space, you're going to look at it and think, holy heck, I don't know how to do any of this. That's where these other platforms come into place. So MailChimp has been around for a gazillion years. That was probably the first one that I had ever heard of back when I wasn't even in this industry necessarily. And so I didn't hear all of them, but that was one that I was very familiar with back in the day. It's very user-friendly. They have the free spot. You can analyze results, but they do have limited automations on that free tier. ConvertKit has now been called Kit. Just they shorted it out and called it Kit. It's really cool for blogs and starting automations. The real benefit to ConvertKit, which I didn't know until recently working with a client, is a lot of other ones inside of your automations, you aren't able to add a specific date or time. So an automation will work as someone comes into your email list, you send them an email. Then you may say, okay, wait 3 days until you send them this email. Wait 2 days until you send them this email. If they buy something from that email, now you've built like a branch. If they purchase something, do this. If they haven't purchased something, do this. And that can go on and on and on and get really complex. But ConvertKit allows you to do an automation that says, when somebody signs up for my email list, no matter the date, the time, whatever it is, on Tuesday, March 27th, send them this email. So what's beneficial about that is that if you're hosting a workshop or an event or something where there's actual dates involved, ConvertKit is really cool that way, because no matter when that person signs up for the event, they could sign up the day before or 3 weeks before, they're still all going to get the same email on March 27th. So something to consider. But it's got a little bit of design flexibility limitations and just integrations from other websites. So Squarespace coming in, when somebody purchases, what happens, you can connect them, but there's a little bit of complexity there and limitations there that I had found out with that client as well. ActiveCampaign, huge advanced automations. They have wonderful customer service, but they are complex for beginners for sure. Brevo, which used to be called, it's not coming to me, but there was a different name that Brevo was. This has email and text all built into one. They have a lot of automations and kind of that really easy drag and drop system. Same concept. They're good for that kind of small to medium-sized business. They will function well. I have a few clients on that platform and it is fairly simplistic to use, fairly, just easy to use. There are fewer advanced features compared to something like ActiveCampaign. But if you're not at ActiveCampaign level, it doesn't necessarily matter. And when I say ActiveCampaign level, like I'm talking, you have over 5,000 people on your email list. You are sending out really complex email systems. There's many, many automations that are built into your email list, that kind of thing. Then you have MailerLite. This is the one that I use. Has a simple interface. Again, that kind of drag and drop. There's a free tier for like quite a significant, like for what I need it for. It has worked just fine. It has automations and it has a landing page spot built into it, which is really interesting because not all email systems are also landing page systems, right? And so we kind of get into this spot where we're like, our tech stack ends up so big because we have our email, then we have our processor, then we have our website, then we have all of these things, right? And so now instead of using just one platform, you have 15 different platforms that talk to each other. So MailerLite does have that landing page piece built in, which is kind of interesting or different from the other ones. There is a little bit more on the limited reporting. It does show you, open rate and click-through rate and unsubscriber, but it doesn't, and it shows you who has unsubscribed and what link they clicked. So it does show you that type of stuff. But it can get a little bit limited when you're getting into that higher level analysis piece. Um, and then there is a bit of a lack of segmentation. Again, as you're getting bigger and bigger, you kind of run into a little bit of limitation in that regard. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about automation. So
Sorry,
yeah,
could I interrupt you just for half a second? Do you want the questions after or before? Or during,
uh,
sorry, after or during?
no, that's okay. Let's do them after and then
Okay,
we
yeah,
can.
no problem. Okay, go ahead.
So yes, drop your questions and we'll definitely take a look at them after and talk more about them. Okay. So automation, I do believe that automation has a time and place. Some people want to automate their entire business, including every message that they ever sent. And to me, that feels disingenuous, but that's me personally. The reason why I say that is because people want to talk to you as the business owner, right? There are certain times and places for automation. And people often turn to an app called ManyChat. This is not necessarily a new app, but it is a program that will allow you to take social media content. So if you have a post going out on Facebook or Instagram, you can attach ManyChat to that and say, when somebody messages me this or when somebody comments this, reply with this. This is good for lead magnets. So when you think about it, if you have 400 people message you about your lead magnet, it would take you 100 years to get to that. But if you have an automation that goes through, when somebody messages me guide, it's going to send them an automated message saying, do you want this guide? Let me know your email and I'll send that over to you. And all of these pieces connect, which is crazy. But that's what automation is, right? It all kind of connects all of these different platforms into one hub and says, here's the final product, getting it to your clients within seconds. Now, automation to me has a time and place. When you are having a conversation with somebody and you only have, a few messages coming in about your lead magnet, maybe a day or a month or a week, I think that it's more beneficial to do that personalization style. When you have when you have hundreds of messages coming in a day, an hour, whatever that is, I get the automation. You would never be able to keep up. You'd miss people, all of that kind of stuff. I've been on both ends of it. I get it. When we are doing repetitive tasks, automation can be a huge benefit to that. One of them, I was talking to a client recently, was she was sending personalized welcome emails to every single person that joined her membership. So, what the heck are you doing? She had over 100 people in her membership. And every time someone would sign up, she would then have to go through this process of sending them the email and welcoming them in and adding them to the calendar and blah blah blah. And I thought there's a better way to do this, my friend. We've got to automate this process. That's where segments come in and then automation joins that party. And when you automate those pieces, what it allows you to do is free up your time and energy. Time, yes, that's the obvious one, right? If I don't have to send those emails, I have more time. But the energy piece is even more important. And the reason why I say that is because when you get somebody coming into your world, when you have a new client coming in, when you have recently signed on a new client, somebody signed up for whatever program, who knows? If you now have to go in and send everything manually and get them all hooked up to everything, you're probably going to have some hesitation towards that and some dread, right? Because you're like, oh my God, okay, let me get in here, let me do this real quick, blah, blah, blah. There's this rushing, there's this essence of burden to that, right? What's that energetics piece coming in? Burden, annoyance. It's not necessarily excitement that you got a new client, you're so excited, oh my gosh, I can't wait to have you there. It's, oh my God, okay, now I got to do all these things, right? You're still excited that the person is there on the front end, but on the back end, you're like, oh, now I have to do 500 things to get them into the places and spaces. Automation. And what ends up happening there is it frees up that time, which frees up that energy so that when people come into your business and when people come to you, they're excited to be there. You're excited to have them and everything is done for you. And you can just sit back and be excited to welcome them in personally. Also, what's interesting is some platforms allow you to schedule your emails at a specific time in that person's time zone, which was very interesting. This is a newer-ish feature that I have clients all over the world. Not everybody does, but some people do. They have clients in different time zones all over the place, even across Canada. Right now, some of us are in different time zones, right? And so this allowed you to schedule an email. So I could say schedule at 8 a.m. their time zone. So whenever their time zone rolls around for 8 a.m., it would send this email to them. So I would have emails being sent at different times on my end. It would be like 8 a.m., 7:30, 2 p.m. My email would go out at different times on my end, but on their end, it would be at 8 o'clock a.m., which I thought was really interesting because it shows that there's a lot of technology behind this, and it allows us to really customize like what we're doing for our strategy piece, right? What is the strategy? Is the strategy just to blast them at 2:05 on a Tuesday afternoon and see what happens? Or is there thought behind when we're actually sending that email and why we're sending it at that time? Think about it. When you wake up, maybe not right when you open your eyes or you're checking your email, but oftentimes, when you wake up, maybe you're drinking your coffee in the morning, you're probably checking at the very least your personal email. Sometimes I leave the work email until I'm like actually sitting here because who knows what's going on that end. But I'll check my personal email, check, hey, Dairy Queen, guys, by the way, is having free cone day tomorrow. So just those little random emails, right? I'm like, okay, anything important here? Nope. Move on. If you're also stuck in that initial morning burst of emails, you might get noticed if you're kind of first or last, but also you might get very lost if that person, gets 15 emails first thing at 8 o'clock in the morning and they're just going through and deleting them. So think about that too, the strategy behind it. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to mums? Yeah, I bet they're, checking their email at random times in the night. I bet they're checking their email, really early in the morning, or early in the evening, at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock when the baby's in bed. Are you talking to teachers? They're not checking their email from like 9 to noon and then from 1 to 3, right? They are working, they are teaching. So think about who you're talking to and how they're showing up in these spaces and places. Um, Automations can keep your follow-ups and keep that boosting in conversation, right? So automations can set you up so that you don't have to think about, oh crap, I got to send another email or I've got to do this or that. The automation is moving and grooving for you, which boosts that conversion piece and boosts that engagement piece, right? Because you don't feel like you have to send all these emails. They're already set up, but people are still receiving emails from you, even though you are not the one manually sending them right in this moment. And then it keeps your audience engaged consistently. So same thing, right? When people are seeing your emails quite consistently, they might think of your name top of mind when they think of your brand, when they think of that service, that type of thing. So definitely something to consider there. Okay. Oh, what is going on, computer? Okay, so segmentation. So segmentation is a really, really fun tool to play with. And this is probably one of my favorite pieces. That and automation is like a little mind map for me. Segmentation is dividing your email list into smaller groups. So segmentation can look like location. It can look like connections that you have. Maybe you have mutual connections, or maybe you're part of a networking group that, you met these people at. It could be somebody who's previously purchased something from you or has purchased something very specific from you. So here I am offering a workshop that I am doing at a coffee shop live in person tonight. We're going to talk about marketing your business online. And then I'm going to have one in 2 months where we're going to talk about email marketing. And what I have done is when I built that email segmentation, I wrote, digital cafe, March, social media. But then I can retarget those people when I launch the next one. I can go back to that list and say, hey, back to both that one and the Alberta list, put them in an email and say, hey, actually, no, I would do it separately. I would do the Alberta list and say, hey, I am hosting this event. This is what I'm doing. It's local. I would love to have you there. The people who were there last time, that second segment, I would then send them a personalized email that says, hey, Jim, it was so good to have you at the workshop. Back in March, I would love to see you again at this next workshop. Boom. You now have two very individualized sales emails, but do the same purpose. And the way that we do that is through the segmentation piece. So definitely get juicy and deep on your segmentation because it allows you to do so much more after. Now, can you adjust and add more later on for sure. But a lot of people don't do that. And so now you have 300 people on your email list. You never segmented any of them. And now you have to go through 300 emails. You probably won't. So do it right from the hop. Get your lists in order. That could be location, it could be purchases, it could be whatever. Like you literally, it could be very nitty gritty. Like it had a conversation on Instagram before, you know, it could be really, really nitty gritty in what that looks like. But the benefit of that is that when you go to send those sales emails, you now have so much more to pull from, right? You might send it to the whole list. It might be a newsletter where you send it to the entire list, or you may have a very specific ask or situation that you are trying to market and you're trying to get across. And when you're able to segment them, that the conversion rate is higher, right? Because people actually feel like they're connected to that. If I sent, hey, I'm having an event in Medicine Hat to all my email list, you know, 70% of my email list would be like, I don't care, unsubscribe. Maybe they wouldn't unsubscribe, but they'd be like, I don't care. So something to consider. It's always better to have more segmentation than have to go back through your email list and think, oh my gosh, now I have to go through all these contacts. Okay. So evaluating your work. So, okay, we're building the email list and we're doing the things and we're doing what Cass said and we're doing it. But how do I know if I'm successful? What is the benchmark here? What's going on? So your open rate, and these are industry standard. They're not set in stone. Some of my clients, some of even myself, sometimes have way higher than this. Sometimes we have way lower. So they're not set in stone, but it is an industry standard. The open rate. Open rate is when somebody opens your actual email. So they click on it and they open it, is around 20 to 30%. The easiest way that you can change that open rate, if you know that it's a little bit low, is the subject line. If you notice it's pretty successful and it's pretty high, great. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing awesome. If you kind of notice it's in that mid tier, awesome. You're still on par with the rest of the community. You're still on par with the rest of the industry. But if you want to bump that up a little bit, subject line is just the quickest and easiest way to play with that. Add in emojis, add in personalization, that type of thing. Your click-through rate, this is when somebody sees a link on your email. Maybe it's to a product, maybe it's to your Instagram, maybe it's to your Facebook Live, maybe it's a group, maybe it's another blog, a YouTube video, whatever the heck it is. You decide. There's lots. You can put lots of different links in different places. But the click-through rate is somebody clicking on that link. They've clicked through to whatever you've told them to go to. This is 2 to 5% industry standard. So don't beat yourself up if you're like, oh, my click-through rate's like 10%. Amazing. You're doing very well. A lot of people see their click-through rate low and they think, oh my gosh, shouldn't it be at like 50%? Like, why is nobody clicking through my stuff? Or at the very least, like 30%? 2 to 5% is the standard. So you're doing well. If you notice that it is lower than that, I have had emails that have gone out and I've had like 0.2% click-through rate. I have had emails that have gone out that have, 1%. If you notice they're a bit lower, it's your call to action. It's not super effective and it's not super clear, right? Some emails have buttons, like sales pages have buttons that you can click and it says like, grab your guide here and you can click on it. Some of them have links where you can just insert the link, like click here to learn more about my latest offer. Some of them you can embed, a YouTube video, or you can embed a video or a website or like a form, whatever that looks like. So all of those things are something to consider. Again, as you get into different platforms, there can be more complexities to that, but definitely something to consider. But if you notice your click-through rate is a little bit low, your call to action just isn't punchy enough. People aren't noticing it or they're just not taking that action. So how do you adjust that? And then the unsubscriber rate. So if your unsubscriber rate is under 0.5%, you're doing okay. I talked to a few clients about this. When somebody unsubscribes or somebody cancels their membership with you, it's like a hurt to your ego, right? You're like, oh, what? Why did you unsubscribe? What did I do? Like, what happened? It's gonna happen. It's always gonna happen. Do not panic. If your entire list unsubscribes one day, we've got a problem. But if one or two people are unsubscribing every email list, again, it depends on how big your email list, right? is, right? Like that math is different depending on how many people you have on that email list. But if you have a smaller list, if a few people are unsubscribing every email or every second email or, every once in a while, don't panic. It's okay. It's going to happen. And if it's under that 0.5%, and a lot of these percentages will be shown inside of your analytics piece. So it'll say like 2 unsubscribers, and then it'll show the percentage of what that actually is compared to your list. If you notice it's getting higher and higher, take a look at frequency. How often are you sending emails? Are you annoying people? And then what are you providing in those emails? Because if you're just selling to people, they're probably going to unsubscribe after a while. But if you're providing value, and then selling, that's where things can get a little easier and better and people will stay subscribed. The rule, but not really the rule, was that you would send 2 emails for every promotional email that you send. So you send 2 value-based emails, and then you send an email with some sort of promotion in it. So those first 2 value emails shouldn't have really any promotion. They might have like follow me on Instagram or come find me in my Facebook group, something like that, but they're not directly selling to people. That's important. And the reason why is because, like I said, if you're always selling, the only reason why I keep Bath and Body Works emails is because they send me a coupon usually every time they send me an email. But if they didn't send me those coupons, bye-bye. I don't need 30 emails a week from Bath and Body Works, right? It's the same thing. So if you're always, always, always selling to people, they're going to say, get the heck out of here. I don't want to be sold to every day. I signed up for your email thinking that I was going to get value and thinking that you were going to help me and provide me some information. And all I'm getting is sold to. It's not going to work very well. It's not going to translate very well. So yeah, I think that's it. That's all I've got. So very curious to hear your thoughts, your questions, your success, your experience with email. I would love to hear more. About you guys and your experience. I'm going to take a look at this chat as well.
Do you want me
see
to read the
what's going on.
questions, or do you want to look at them, or?
Yeah, I've got the chat open too, so I can.
Okay, sounds good. Sure.
Okay, so I use a free version of MailChimp. How can I build free landing pages to provide a freebie in that? Okay, so I believe, and don't quote me on this, in MailChimp, I believe you can have very basic landing pages. With that, I think it's under campaigns. So if you go into your email, it'll like go to MailChimp, go into your campaigns section, and I believe there's a landing page button there. That is an easy way to do it. And I'm not 100% sure if it's on the free plan or not. So that's something to consider as well. But you can go in there, choose your template, keep it really simple. And then the nice thing about having your landing page on your email processor is that they're connected already, right? So there's no automation piece that you have to add in and blah, blah, blah. Once somebody wants your guide, they toss in their email, and then you can add a tag to that to say to say guide, so that you know where this person has come from and you know that that lead magnet was successful. Things like that. I hope that answered your question, Tina. Definitely take a peek in there. I'm just not 100% sure if it's on the free version or not. Okay, I use Canva, but I hate to make the emails. It's not drag and drop. Change fonts and stuff. You need to know coding. Okay. Thanks for the list. I'll check out your other options. I don't know if you send me coupons. Yeah, totally understand. Nectara, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but please go ahead.
Hi, it's Nectaria. That's okay.
Nectaria.
And Lori, can you just, I think you do, but send out the deck so I can take a look at those because I didn't write them down. But so Cassandra, I attended like I was at a conference or whatever, and one of the things I attended was an email marketing thing, which was very interesting. But one of the things that they talked about, and so I'm curious if you see this or whatever, this is my second opinion question.
Absolutely.
So they talked about open rates, and they didn't give stats, so I appreciate mine are actually higher than those, so I'm happy about that. But they were basically saying, look, if people don't open your emails, eventually that can hurt you. Like Google could be like, no, 95% of people are not opening this email, it might be spam, and they're kind of like on the back end, kind of, because Google's seeing me send it to tons of Gmail and Yahoo and, you know, all the different things. So what they recommended doing is every whatever 6 months, a year, whatever, cleaning up your email list. And basically, if there are people who are not opening, because you can see whether or not they're even opening it, if they're not opening for, I'm doing 6 months, you know, you've sent out messages for 6 months or a year, remove them. And with Klaviyo, and I'm sure others, I can just basically create them as, like, set them as inactive, so I won't send them anymore. And their point was, A, if they're not opening them, why are you paying to keep them on your list? They don't really care about hearing from you. And they were pointing out, like, it can feel bad because you could be like, I have 1,000 subscribers, and now you go down to 400 or whatever. But their point was 400 people who open your emails at least once every 6 months is better than 1,000 people who don't open your emails ever. And so therefore your open rates start to get higher. And that supposedly can help with kind of you being better, like less likely to be identified as spam by these different email accounts. And so like what I did was, like, I have a Facebook group that many of my people are in. It's a private Facebook group. And I basically was like, look, just so you guys know, next month I'm cleaning out my email list. So if anybody wants to make sure that they're still getting emails from me, like anybody who hasn't opened an email from me in the last 6 months, I'm pulling. So like, make sure you open the next email I send if you want to make sure you stay on, like things like that. Like, so anyway, I'm just kind of curious about if you know about like whether or not companies like Google are looking at open rates and therefore making assessments, and therefore, you know, like, is it best to clean it up or keep that list as big as possible?
Definitely. So you make excellent points, right? It's like, number one, why are you paying for subscribers that aren't there? Because the more subscribers you have, oftentimes the more you have to pay. And so if people aren't opening your email, why do we need them there? But yes, if people aren't opening your emails, they're going to start sending them to spam folders because there's no engagement, right? So if you go to your Gmail and you look at your spam folder, or you look at your, you know, you look at these places, what's in promotions versus what's in your main inbox versus what's in your spam. If you actually go through that, you might notice, hey, wait, I didn't put that in spam. Why is that there? It's because you haven't opened their email in 6 months to a year. So they recommend every 3 to 6 months. It's kind of that like clear out. Like you said, a lot of platforms will tell people, you know, it'll tell you hasn't engaged or is an unengaged subscriber. And with that, 100%. What I would do is I would export your list, put it into a spreadsheet just so you have it. And then, yeah, remove those people or make them inactive from your list, because like you said, what you're doing is you're going to end up in spam folder, and you're hurting your numbers because people aren't, you know, people aren't engaging, but they weren't engaging to begin with. Those are the people that wanted the guide, they got the guide, and then they disappeared, right? That it's the same thing with social media. They, you know, those giveaways that are like and follow our page and we'll give away this trip to Mexico. I don't know, whatever it is, right? And so everybody likes and follows them. And then the second the giveaway is done and they, you know, they're done, they lose all these followers again. I'm like, because they weren't actively engaged in what you were doing. And so that's definitely something to consider. And I think you have it right on point there. Remove those inactive subscribers every once in a while, even if it's a couple times a year. Just kind of go through that list, make sure that it makes sense. And or another strategy behind that is those inactive people that aren't quite there, move them to a segment and send them a personalized email with the subject line that's very simple. I had a mentor who sent me an email one time, and she was like, hey, Cassandra, what's stopping you from, you know, going all in on your business? I thought it was a personal email. I thought she just sent it to me. I was like, what? So I replied and I was like, oh, you know, I feel like this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I went on and on and on telling her all these things. And it was an automated email that she sent to all of these people that were within this segment. And so that could be a strategy too, that if you think that, like, if you think you're like, you know what, I want to re-engage these people, you can send them a very simple email that's like, hey, Dee, it's great to connect with you. Or hey Dee, I'm just wondering how you're doing, what's new in your world, whatever it is, whatever industry you're in, and talk about that. And send them an email and see if they re-engage. Because if they re-engage, they might have just forgotten about you and or you ended up in spam already. Or if they don't engage, then bye, last ditch effort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's a good point. Maybe I should be sending something that says like, I notice you haven't been opening them. Like, are there certain things that you want to hear from me about? And, like, I don't know, something like,
It could,
okay.
well, I had an email that came through that was like, hey, Cassandra, out of these three things, what do you find you struggle with the most? Which then is market research for you to know what to
Right.
create about. But
Right.
also, it was like, it gives me the opportunity to provide you immediate feedback, right?
Right.
About what
Yeah.
I'm struggling with. So,
Mhm.
yeah, definitely an opportunity there. And I would almost try that before you just booted everybody off,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
Just to try it, and if it, that last kind of tug, and if they don't take, then no problem.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course, great conversation. Any other thoughts, questions, experiences you guys have had with email marketing?
I mean, I'll just say that part of my challenge was even getting started was that it feels like I'm bugging people, So like I literally started because people were like, I didn't know you had a sale. Why didn't you tell me? And I'm like,
Right.
but I don't want to bother you, and they're like, you're not bothering me. You're telling me when I can save money. And I'm like, okay, I'll send it. But it's hard to like, I know for me, I get a million emails. So I'm like, I don't want to do that to people, but it's finding that balance, right? Like, and giving people something that they are interested in.
For sure. Somebody told me one time, and this applies to all things in business. A lot of people get caught up in that sales piece, right? They're like, I don't like selling. I'm one of them. I don't like selling. I don't like to be that person that's like bugging you and like all of these things. And they reframed it as selling is serving. So to your point, if they don't know that that's an option, or if they don't know that you do that, or you have that coupon or whatever it is, you've taken that choice away from them. So you haven't been able to serve them. And so again, don't send them 15 emails a day, but by sending them that email, you then allowed them to make the choice to support you and your business. And so I just found that to be very interesting that, selling is often, we look at selling as selling, but selling is actually just service.
Yeah. And I don't know if other programs have this, but I know like Klaviyo, one of their things I can check is to not email somebody who's been emailed in the last whatever. I don't know if it's 48 or 72 hours. So it kind of helps like me make sure if I'm sending out some mass email that if I just engaged with them, they're not like, oh my gosh, she's sending a million emails.
Right. Here we go again. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
absolutely. And that's the important part there, right? Is that you're not
Yeah.
driving people nuts, but you also are still showing up, right? So you kind of find that balance depending on your audience too. Some people love 500 emails a day. Some people are like, get the heck out of here. I don't have time for this. Of
Thank you.
course. Thank you.
Yeah, if
Amazing.
anybody else has any other questions, feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask.
Don't have to be shy. Everyone's quiet.
Maybe not, anyways, well, Cassandra, you said you'd be able to send the
Absolutely. I'll send it.
yeah, and we'll get those out to you, and her contact information will be, oh good, I was gonna say, yeah, you could put it there too. Her contact information will be in the slide deck, but she also put her website in the chat there, so check it out, and if you have any questions, get a hold of her, and lots of information here. We're really it's always good things to think about because like you said, I mean, you're always looking at like social media and stuff like that, but marketing, our email, right, is one that sometimes I feel like it's overlooked in a sense, like when people are doing marketing plans and stuff like that, right?
A lot of times we just think about marketing as like that social media or like traditional marketing where it's like newspaper and ads and that type of thing. And sometimes like email marketing is huge. And I think that it can be a little daunting to get into because there are a million platforms and there's all these different factors. But at the very simple form of it, like in anything, you've just got to start. You've just got to start somewhere. And so choose your platform that feels good for you, go play around, and then, just start.
For sure, absolutely. And if there's any other, knowing what Cassandra's background, if there's stuff that you would like to see her present, we always love having you come and present for us. So I welcome you back maybe in, summerish or like June-ish or somewhere around there. So thank you so much for presenting to us today. We really appreciate it. Lots of information here. And thanks everybody for joining us. And anyways, wish everybody a great rest of the day, and spring's tomorrow. So that's great.
Yay.
Yeah, for
Thank you
sure.
guys so much for being here.
Sorry, I realized I just didn't have my camera on. Sorry about that. Anyways, all right. Good to see you, Cassandra, and good to have everybody here. And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.